a lot of guys would be like, oh, that's my dream. She was hot and he was very uninhibited and stuff. And
anal all day, anal.
Yes. I admit that.
Guilty as charged.
You don't have to.
Give away the key.
We can edit that out.
I'm telling you.
Lieutenant Aram Choe, how did you get to be lieutenant? What did you do? Why you, out of all the people?
Did you take tests?
Yeah, I mean, I asked myself that too. I mean, really, right place, right time, good timing. You know, it wasn't just getting it overnight, right? I've been a cop for 25 years, and I made lieutenant in my 24th year, right? Wow. So it took a long time to get there.
Would you say you're average or faster or slower to get to lieutenant?
I would say average. There's some superstars, there's some studs that make lieutenant in 10, 13 years.
Wow.
But you know what? Like it's timing. At an agency my size, where there's only 6 lieutenants, somebody has to vacate that position for me to get there, whether that's a promotion. And from the lieutenant, the next rank is captain, and there's only 2 captains at my agency. So you got 6 guys vying for 2 spots. When I made lieutenant, I performed really well. You have to take an exam process. There's an oral interview, and then you know there's qualifications. You have to have an education. You have to have so much experience, and then the oral panel is the most difficult thing because the people sitting on the panel are captains from outside of your agency, so there's no bias on the inside. And these are people that don't know you at all, and then there's people that just candidates that try to test for lieutenant that don't know how to talk.
Like Subin.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll never be a lieutenant.
No, never.
But he's just barely trying to make officer.
He'd be, oh,
Bing bang bang bang.
tink, tink, tink.
You know, you got to work your strengths, right?
Yeah,
for me, I'm a good communicator, so I exploit that. But that's only one side of it. That's just only a certain amount of points, and then what you've done in your career.
Yeah.
And then your education and all that stuff matters. So there was 4 spots this time around. So all the sergeants put in for it, right? And it was highly competitive. And
How many sergeants is that?
There's 14 sergeants.
Oh shit!
Yeah, just timing, man. The people that made the decision, it was tight at the top. What separated the top 3 lieutenants were that got selected were half a point.
Wow. Whoa.
Yeah. So I was the 3rd one.
So it's so close.
Yeah. Luckily, they needed to fill 3 spots right away. And I was the 3rd spot.
Wow.
What do you do when you get it? What do you do?
Oh man, I was so happy because it was a huge pay jump. It's the largest pay jump at my department.
What were the other 2 lieutenants that were ahead of you? What do you think they like edged you out on?
So one of them, a good buddy of mine, he was a SWAT commander. So he had a lot, and he was born and raised, and still lives on the same street in the city. Wow. So he's a lot of community support. Whoa. You know, when you talk about like who the next chief should be, he's always in the conversation because he's so invested in the city. He still lives in the city, right? So how much more invested can you be than someone that was born, raised, and still lives in the same street he was born on?
So you'd vote for that guy too?
I support him. I don't want that job.
That's his city. Holy shit!
I support him 100% for that position.
That's cool.
And then the other guy, he's just been a cop a lot longer. He was in his 50s. He had a lot of. It was like the 3rd, 4th time testing, so he edged me out from experience, and that was only my 2nd time testing.
So you made lieutenant. We all seen the movies. That's so sick. What do you do?
Well, not a lot of police work. You know, when the joke is when you get your bars, you kind of lose your spine a little bit. You have to make the difficult decisions, and sometimes they're the unpopular ones. You know, people think police are so rambunctious, and we don't police our own, but we do police our own. I mean, I've had to discipline people. That takes away their livelihood. That takes away their paychecks. Puts a lot of stress on their homes. But if I ignored it and didn't do it, then now I'm culpable for a mistake somebody else did, right?
What does that mean, like you have to discipline them and it affects their paycheck?
So we're governed by not just the law and the penal code, but we have internal policy too. And I mentioned earlier that we don't do anything around the neck. That's not, now it is a law, but some agencies before that became a law was a policy. You didn't do any kind of neck restraints.
Yeah.
And so let's just say someone did that, right? It's a violation of policy. Well, we have to determine now there's an investigation, and during that time they're investigated, they're off work. Sometimes they get paid, and sometimes they're on unpaid leave. And you know, we have to make that. It's a tough, especially when you have a relationship with these guys. And they're the only breadwinner in the family, and they got kids. For me to be the bad guy, but I've got to follow protocol and do it the right thing. Sometimes there's degrees. Tough. But yeah, and that's the not fun part. And when people see what I do, they're like, "You're not a cop anymore." But I look at it this way: I've had 25 years of experience. I worked a lot of different units. I had a lot of personal stuff happen to me. If I was a police officer, you would want me as a lieutenant. So traditionally, lieutenants were hard asses and iron fist, rules with iron fist. I'm not that guy. I can relate to the guys that are young now because I'm on social media, or I refuse to get old and be that grumpy guy. So I'm thinking if I'm a cop and I had an opportunity to be a lieutenant that the cops would rather have, I'm going to be that guy.
How far do you go to try to defend a cop? For example, the cat who gets in the back seat with that chick during the stop, and he closes the door behind him and he gets caught in there, and the child safety lock or whatever you guys do, he couldn't get out.
Indefensible, right? And that's
So his story that like he was just checking on her.
You could never put yourself.
My kids tell more convincing lies than that guy did, right?
There's no way you'd ever get in the back seat with a female.
That's not a common
If
thing.
there was a legit medical emergency, you'd get back there, right? That was his story, that there was some sort of medical emergency.
Yeah.
But why would you turn off your body cam? The policy says while you're in transport of a prisoner, you're always going to have your body cam on. He fumbled with it. He was flirting. The audio clearly was he was accepting,
He has some game though.
He was risen.
He went to like a neighborhood out of his way to like,
went outside of his city jurisdiction. That's why another police department had to come let him out.
Oh, another police.
Let me ask you this, and I mean this out of all respect. What if she's having a medical emergency and her titties are popping out all over the place?
What's that?
What if she's having a medical emergency and her titties are popping out all over the place?
So if both things are true,
Yeah, it's happened. I mean, you got to be mature.
You gotta flip that thing off.
Yeah, I mean, when you're
You gotta be classy.
we respond to medical, and we were trained in first aid, and we have to apply the EKGs, not EKGs,
AED.
AED. You've got a bare chest.
Yeah, defibrillator.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So it's
They're coming out.
yeah.
They're coming out.
Yeah, but for someone that's never seen them before, I'm sure it's exciting. But
He did seem like that kind of guy.
When someone's dying, it's like, oh.
He did sound like that kind of a dork.
You did.
Back at home, who's a lieutenant at home? You or your wife?
so it's not going to be a popular thing to say, but I'm a very traditional Korean husband, which means my wife waits on me hand and foot.
That's tight.
I'm kidding. I wish.
How'd you do it? Tell me your secrets.
No, but
You almost got us in trouble by Greene.
I gotta be better.
It is a running joke with my friends at work, though, that I've kind of assimilated her because from the very beginning, she quit her job before we even had kids. She quit her job, and she wanted to be a housewife. And the relationship, if you looked at the relationship I had prior to my meeting my wife, I was with my ex-girlfriend for like 4.5 years, USC business student. She wanted to make millions. Her priority was money driven, and that was very similar to the way my parents were. Right, I was basically raised by TV. I cooked. Everything was out of a can or out of a box. I raised myself basically. I didn't want that. I thought I wanted that because my girlfriend at the time was a lot of fun, but when it became time to like actually, hey, I'm kind of mature now. I wanted someone that was focused on being a good housewife and a good
Homemaker,
right, and a good
4
mom.
kids.
And luckily, I found, back then, this was 2000 when online dating was not even a thing. It was actually we were actually embarrassed to tell people we met online. Like, how'd you guys meet? Oh, friends.
I arrested her. It's less embarrassing.
No, that is less embarrassing.
Arrested her. Got locked in the back seat.
Yeah, medical emergency.
Which website did you meet her on?
It was ChristianCafe.com. I don't
Heck yeah.
I don't know if it still exists or not.
I never even heard of it.
Yeah, and it wasn't even a dating site, right? You had a profile, but it was basically like an AOL chat room.
Hey, anything's a dating site. You try hard enough.
And we were arguing with each other is what it was, and there was no photos. It was all like, what do they call them, emoji avatars, right? So you knew somebody was a girl if they had a girl avatar, or somebody was a guy, but that was it. You didn't know what they looked like
Unless he had an account.
He met his wife on chickswithdicks.com.
That's not a dating site either, believe it or not.
I mean, the one thing I had going for me was my email address was hotmail@hotmail.com.
Dude.
No, I'm kidding. I didn't have that. I wish I would have claimed that.
I might do that now, dude. I might register that.
But we went out of that chat
What were you
room
guys
and
arguing
DMing. I don't know, some biblical stuff. She was
really?
she was a Bible thumper and I wasn't.
Okay.
But I thought because I read a couple of verses, I thought I knew more than her.
Now, did you go there because you're like, I want this type of person?
Yeah, I was raised in a Christian home, Presbyterian. I went to a traditional Korean Presbyterian church, but not by choice. It was just something my family did on Sunday, and it was an all-day event. Not only did you have to get up, you had to go to church and sit through a whole sermon that I didn't even understand because it was all in Korean. Afterwards, instead of going home, we all ate together as a congregation. It was like Korean food. Just it was great.
Potluck.
That was the best thing. And then it turned into like, well, now we got to go to this person's house, and it's like 6 o'clock. You're at home. So Sundays were. And when I mentioned that ex-girlfriend, when I was dating her, I was living in total sin, right? Like doing anything I wanted, and I just didn't feel fulfilled. I mean, like a lot of guys would be like, oh, that's my dream. She was hot and he was very uninhibited and stuff. And
Anal all day, anal.
Yes. I admit that.
Guilty as charged.
You don't have to.
Give away the key.
We can edit that out.
I'm telling you.
I'm just trying to fuck with you.
This relates to this. This relates to that Sunday. That San Diego cop. Yeah, because I have a theory.
He's like anal to me.
See, I don't have parents watching this, so I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're gonna make captain anymore. So.
Like anal guy. Let's make him captain.
But like,
We love anal guy.
I always said there's two types of cops, right? There's cops that have kind of always been, you know, the athlete at school, the popular guy, people used to being looked at by other kids, you know, elevated to that leadership position. And I played football all 4 years. I was a captain all 4 years, and so I kind of was used to the attention.
Okay.
Being an only child too, I craved attention, so I was used to that. And then you have other people that have never experienced it, never been with a girl, never had game or whatever, and then all of a sudden when you become a cop, you get that attention. You can be the ugliest dude in the world, but that uniform and badge will endear what we call badge bunnies, right? People, cop groupies. And so then you have guys like me that have kind of been through that, done that. It's nothing new. That attention's like, you know, go away. And then you got this animal that you created that doesn't know how to handle that. And like, well, I didn't get to experience this. I'd like to experience what it feels like now, and it becomes a drug in them. And they want more and more, and it just becomes, they become emboldened. And
Don't let me be a cop, dude. My body count's low.
end up in the back seat with.
That's that
you know,
dork.
that's exactly what happens. But yeah, so yeah, the question wasn't fully far-fetched. I did experience a lot, but I did know also that personally I didn't want that in my life. It was unfulfilling. I knew that she may have made somebody the perfect wife for somebody else, but for me, with what I wanted, and I wanted a bigger family. She was one of 7 kids, and I was one of 1. So we met in the middle. We had 4 kids, and we've been married this October. October will be 21 years.
Wow. What's the secret to 21 years of marriage? You seem happy, but
so this is a weird thing. The relationship I had before her, I was with her for 4.5 years. Not once did I consider marrying her. I went on one date with this girl. I came home. My roommate said, "How'd it go?" I said, "I'm going to marry that girl."
Ooh.
She went. I find this out later on. She went home to her sisters, and she says, "I'm marrying that guy."
Wow.
damn, that's what happened to me.
And we had a crappy first date.
Really? What'd you guys do?
We met at Ontario Mills, which is a big mall.
Yeah.
Great mall.
Great mall.
Rainforest Cafe.
Well, we didn't eat there. But we went to the movie theater there.
What a shame.
Don't spoil on the first date.
Worst thing you can do is go to a movie. So they say. So we went to a movie. And but not only that, this movie, I forget what it was called, but it was a horrible movie. We walked out of it, and we're like, "Oh, what do you want to do now?" And I said, "Well, Cheesecake Factory's right here, and we can have dessert." And that turned into like we finished our dessert and stayed there for hours just talking.
That's tight. That's awesome.
Stacking chairs around you guys. Like,
Pretty much.
She's not
That's why we left. And the weird thing, out of the entire parking lot, right? The mall's huge. Where does she park? She parks right behind me.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a big lot too.
And so you go bye, and then you walk all the way to the car.
no, I knew it was her. I recognized her. By this
That's
time, we had exchanged photos
cool.
and stuff, and I recognized her. But yeah, I mean, it took me 6 months to propose to her. I knew I was going to marry her.
Wow.
What's the secret? So that phrase, happy wife, happy life, I mean, there is some truth to that. When you argue, you're not having conversations, right? One side's proving their point, the other side's proving their point. I think it took me about 7 to 10 years to realize that arguments all end in the same way. We're just going to make up, but we're wasting that half day that we're angry at each other.
Skip it.
Yeah, just fast forward and say, hey, let me, and instead of being condescending and just appeasing them to say, okay, I agree with you, try to understand it. Like, look, let me understand your.
I'm talking to myself.
And then experiencing some tough things. We had some crisis in our lives, and I knew that my wife knew I would do whatever it takes to dig us out of that crisis, and I knew that she would stick by me. So I forget where I saw this, but there were some psychologists that said when women look for a mate, they look for 3 things. And one of the things is knowing that you don't have to be rich, but knowing that you have a drive to be secure. That knowing that if the shit hits the fan, you wouldn't mind flipping burgers for that family if you have to. The other one is knowing that you'll provide by protection. So provide, protect. I forget the third one is.
Penis.
Yes. Provide, protect, and penis.
PPP.
Actually, it is. It's procreate. That you have the ability to
Make a baby.
make a baby. Yes.
Penal strength.
Yeah.
That's true. Wow, okay.
Well, that was really good.
That's really sick.
I think we know why you made lieutenant.
Pee-pee.
Dude, I peanut carpet bomb that shit, brother. Let's fucking go, dog.